Welcome to the Veeam 2025 Global Launch event. This is a virtual experience to keep you up to date on everything that we have coming. My name is Corinne Bissett. I'm a global technologist here at Veeam. I'm a specialist in the Microsoft 365 platform and a Microsoft MVP. And I'm joined here by some other experts at our company. Ryan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Corinne. Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Alfred, and I'm the Veeam Data Cloud for Microsoft 365 and Entra ID specialist. Over to you, Michael.
Hi there. So I'm Michael Paul. I'm a Veeam Data Cloud solution engineer. So I focus on all things technical related to Microsoft 365 and Entra ID. And back over to you, Corinne.
Thank you. This is fantastic. I'm super excited about this whole presentation. We have some things that we've teased at VeeamON and throughout the time between VeeamON and now, but we have some updates for you, some demos, and even more. So to start off with, we're going to have a coverage of why you should care and what type of attack vectors are happening in the Entra ID environment. We're going to show the importance of disaster recovery, take it away with all kinds of the new things coming. Some of them are involving around AI. But before we dive into any of that, I want to prompt anyone out there in the audience, ask questions, use any questions chat. If we don't get to them in this presentation, we'll definitely have someone out there getting back to you to get any of those questions answered. Now, Ryan, I know you're going to kick us off here and tell us, why should we be worried and what type of attack vectors do we have in the Entra ID environment?
Absolutely, Corinne. Thank you again. So there's a lot of innovation happening at Veeam right now, and we're excited to dive into the details and showcase many of those features and capabilities. But before we get into those exciting updates, I want to start by highlighting why protecting your business critical Microsoft 365 and Entra ID data is more important today than ever. So let's kick things off by recognizing the growing importance of safeguarding Entra ID. As one of the most widely used identity and access management solutions, Entra ID has quickly become a prime target for cyber threats and bad actors as they continue to evolve their tactics. To put this into perspective, let's look at a few key data points that highlight why identity protection must be a top priority for every organization. Let's start off by acknowledging the sheer increase in cyber threats. According to Microsoft's Digital Defense Report, nearly 600 million identity attacks occur every single day detected by Entra ID. The sheer scale of these attacks underscores how critical identity protection has become. Additionally, with widespread use of Microsoft 365 as the collaboration backbone for organizations, reports show that nearly 2 billion new files are shared daily through applications like Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. And that's an enormous volume of sensitive, private, and valuable data. And in the wrong hands, it can lead to serious reputational and financial damage. Lastly, it's about the people, you and I. We are still the ultimate last line of defense, and our identities will always be at risk. 30% of breaches stem from compromised user identities, which then become the entry point for attackers to infiltrate SaaS and other business critical environments to access the data. The increasing threat to business identities is also highlighted in a recent report from Coveware by Veeam. If you didn't know, Veeam acquired Coveware a few years ago. They're a recognized leader in ransomware response and recovery. Coveware specializes in helping organizations prepare for ransomware incidents, assist with remediation, and when necessary, manage negotiation with threat actors. Coveware publishes a quarterly report highlighting major trends in the cyber attack landscape. And it's a great pulse check on how threat tactics continue to evolve. In their most recent report, one trend that stood out was a targeted social engineering campaign known as Scattered Spider. In Scattered Spider attacks, the bad actors impersonate real employees and trick help desk teams into provisioning credentials for those employee accounts. Now, imagine if those attackers gained admin level access. Think about the potential damage to the business operations and the reputational impact this could have on any organization. Another example is silent ransom, which takes the reverse approach. In these cases, attackers pose as help desk technicians and convince employees to download remote assistance software, giving them direct access into the environment, resulting in access to data for months without detection before they strike their attack. Now, these are just two examples, but they illustrate a critical point. Identity-based cyber attacks are not slowing down. The tactics are becoming more sophisticated, and businesses must strengthen their identity access and management protection strategies across all their environments. Now, let's take a moment to look at the relationship between Entra ID and Microsoft 365, because understanding this connection is the key to building a complete defense strategy. Entra ID is far more than just user identity management tool. As adoption grows, organizations increasingly rely on it to establish secure connections and access to a wide range of applications, from cloud platforms to SaaS applications. And that relationship between Entra ID and Microsoft 365 is the perfect example of cross-platform dependency, whereby Microsoft 365 depends on Entra ID to authenticate users and manage access at every level, from your standard employees to privileged administrators. And so this connection underscores a very critical risk. Your corporate sensitive data shared every day across applications like SharePoint, Exchange, OneDrive, and Teams is only as secure as the identities controlling access to it. So while in the industry we have focused heavily on protecting Microsoft 365 data in recent years, it's now more important than ever to expand that protection to include Entra ID based on this codependency. And then, of course, all the compelling reasons to safeguard your Microsoft 365 and Entra ID data, we can't overlook one of the most important concepts, and that's Microsoft's own shared responsibility model. This model helps define the split between what Microsoft is responsible for and what you, as the data owner, are responsible for. Microsoft is responsible for maintaining the platform, ensuring the infrastructure uptime and availability of the service. But you are responsible for your data living inside these platforms and apps by protecting it, securing it, and ensuring it's recoverable when something goes wrong. And now, this slide illustrates that division really well, showing where those responsibilities fall between both parties. But it also highlights how those lines can start to blur, especially when we talk about security, data protection, and regulatory exposure. The bottom line is this: your data is your responsibility. It's up to you to ensure there's a clean, secure copy stored in a separate location and ready to recover, whether the threat is internal, external, or accidental. And beyond just recovery, in the event of a data loss incident, that data must also be accessible for your industry specific compliance, audit, and regulatory obligations. At the end of the day, without a backup of your Microsoft 365 and Entra ID data, your organization remains at risk and exposed. From regulatory noncompliance, limited access and control of your data, to retention gaps, the security vulnerabilities and the risk to your data loss are simply too great to ignore. These are challenges that must be anticipated, planned for, and protected against. Now, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about a topic that's resonating more and more with our customers. And that's this growing need for a true disaster recovery solution for Microsoft 365. At Veeam, we fundamentally believe there are two pillars to consider when planning for a modern resilient strategy. The first pillar is all about the day-to-day recovery, giving organizations the control and flexibility they need to protect and restore their data quickly and efficiently. Think about common scenarios such as an email deleted months or even years ago, or a shared file that's become inaccessible due to a settings change or file corruption. In these cases, the business needs the ability to recover a specific item, like restoring that email to another user's mailbox, or recovering a shared file to a SharePoint site so that teams can continue to collaborate. Having these granular everyday recovery capabilities isn't just convenient, but it's the core requirement of any modern backup and recovery solution. Now, on the flip, The second pillar focuses on cyber and disaster recovery, restoring data and recovering it fast when it matters most. In large scale incidents such as ransomware attacks or widespread data loss, the challenge becomes speed and scale. Businesses need to restore massive data sets quickly, minimizing downtime and getting back to normal operations without worrying about things like throttling or the amount of time it's going to take to recover the environment when you have hundreds of terabytes of data. So this is where performance, scalability, and automation becomes critical, ensuring you can recover confidently and completely no matter the situation. And of course, supporting both of these pillars is a strong foundation of security. It's those security controls and mechanisms that maintain data integrity and ensure access remains limited to authorized users only. So by protecting Microsoft Entra ID, it is a crucial part of this foundation because secure identity is what ensures the right people can always access the right data, even in the face of disruption. So by implementing this two-pillar framework, combining day-to-day recovery and disaster recovery preparedness with the foundation of security, organizations can truly achieve cyber resilience. But let's dive a little deeper into how those two pillars translate into real-world speed and time impact for your business. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the traditional Microsoft Graph API. This is the export API that's been around for quite some time and serves as the backbone for day-to-day recovery capabilities. It's proven and reliable, ideal for those granular item-level restores and smaller subsets of data. This API helps you recover exactly what you need right when you need it. On the right-hand side, you'll see something new, the Microsoft Backup Storage API, released just over a year ago, has elevated the data resiliency landscape. It's designed for performance at scale, enabling lightning fast backup and restores that meet the demands of full-scale DR disaster recovery scenarios. So when you compare the two, the difference in speed is significant. The new Microsoft Backup Storage API delivers recovery speeds up to 24 times faster than the traditional Graph API. That's the difference between restoring a terabyte of data in a day versus just 1 hour. So you might be wondering, how do I choose what API is needed for my business? Well, why have to choose between either? At Veeam, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between the two. Choosing one over the other creates a gap in your protection strategy, and that's a risk no organization should take. And each API serves its own purpose. Together, they deliver a comprehensive protection and flexibility for the modern business. Now, how does Veeam bring all of this together? Well, with our Veeam Data Cloud Premium solution, customers get the best of both worlds, the flexibility needed for those day-to-day recovery and the speed and scale required for true disaster recovery, all delivered through a single unified platform. And this unified experience means you're always ready, whether it's recovering a single email or restoring terabytes of data after a major incident. With Veeam Data Cloud, resiliency becomes simple. You gain confidence knowing your Microsoft 365 and Entra ID data is protected, recoverable, and secure. No compromises, no trade-offs, and no complexity. Now, we'd like to take a closer look at some of those exciting new features the Veeam team has been working tirelessly to deliver. These next-gen features and capabilities are designed to take your business continuity and DR preparedness to the next level, giving you even more confidence, control, and intelligence in how you protect your data. So with that, I'm thrilled to hand it over to Corinne, who's going to walk you through how we're leveling up the game with new capabilities like advanced threat protection, AI-powered insights through Veeam Intelligence, and enhanced data control with customer-managed encryption keys. Corinne, over to you.
Thanks, Ryan. And you really said it. Like, we really need to look at these environments, break down where the vulnerabilities are, and make sure that we have the appropriate data protection so that we can recover and have business continuity in our forethoughts. Now, that said, it's not just about making sure that you have the backups and the consistency and the restores, but you also need to ensure integrity and encryption and things like ransomware are not infecting these data sets. And that's where we're going with our next generation. So building on that strong, it just works, to making sure that it just works and it's the data that you want. And I like to come back to the CIA, where you have your confidentiality, you make sure you have availability, but you also need to confirm the integrity of that data. And now that's really what we get here with the advanced threat detection. This is not a generative AI type of introduction or even in the same genre and family. What this does is it takes baselines of your current infrastructure and how it looks. And it's not just what I do or what Paul does or Ryan does. We could do all the way down to the individual applications within each of the individual users and understand maybe half of my files are encrypted, and that is my baseline because I run some type of security level. When we look at Ryan's data, it might be something a little bit more free and open. He's just doing some pictures for the company, and we expect that data set. What we do is we take a baseline of all of that, and with intelligence to know when different bits have changed, how the data looks in that structure is really what we're doing here, which allows you to have a more real-time protection that is personalized to your SharePoint, your OneDrive, and all of those data sets individually. Then we're going to take these and put them into a single data center. Now, these are a lot of new concepts, and I took a little bit of time to understand it myself. It's like, okay, so this is just threshold detection. No, this is even better than just threshold. Like, if 50% of my data looks like it's encrypted, then go here. What we do is we take a baseline, and you can see here with the blue dots on this chart how data is structured. And based off the structure of this data, we can realize this is the normal pattern of this data set. And then if you look at the lines of the red dots, this is what the exact same data set looks like if it's been encrypted by some type of threat actor. And it is obvious in the way that we look at it from the regular structure to the more uniform structure here at the bottom to know that these have been infected and that there is a problem that is occurring here. And again, it's all kinds of data. So if you notice all the blue patterns, it's not the exact same files. These are different files over time and plotted across this chart. Now, it's not even just something anyone can do out there. The technology and algorithms behind the scenes on this AI have actually already been put through patent processes on our side and our development team. So we're the only ones that have the specific pattern recognizing and detection in the systems, which we'll be launching out to customers. And if you're already in the Veeam Data Cloud platform, you can expect it to show up right underneath each of the applications, and you're going to have a threat window. This threat window is going to give you an overarching, okay, these are the specific accounts that are within this detection scenario. And over to the right side, you can see, okay, maybe the 2 lower user accounts don't have anything going on. They've only shown up 6, but when you start getting 150 objects under a single user showing some type of problem, something you might want to double click on. And it's not that we just do itemized data sets, so we don't just randomize, pick through each of the data. This is done on every single file in your organization, so it's not like we're going to miss a certain subfolder either. So this is a really holistic type of approach to seeing those files. Then we give you details on what kind of files and rules that you may want to check into. On top of all of this intelligence that we've looked into the ransomware side, we still do have some of those traditional detection types on the background. We'll have a full list for you on release when we get that out to you. Next is Veeam Intelligence. And I feel like Veeam Intelligence doesn't get the proper light because we like to say, hey, this might just be a chatbot. But AI is not really just a chatbot. I actually come from our support organization, and I can't tell you how many hours And days of my life, I have gone through reading documentation, trying to figure out how to do things because it might be in a couple different areas. I got to get the security side on the configuration ports. I got to get the how I get this certain account deployed in Azure, and pulling all of this data back together is a time-consuming process, which is just done in minutes with Veeam Intelligence. And as we move along, Veeam Intelligence is going to get smarter. It's going to be able to start doing some of these tasks for you, but right now it's going to save you lots of time just getting into the console, understanding what's going on. So it's empowering your administrators to be the best administrator that they can be, which is going to help increase your productivity across the board. All of those projects that we've kind of been sweeping away because we're like, I got to do like 2 hours of research on this one project. And now the 2 hours of research is done in about 5 minutes. That's done. And you get to move into that bucket that's been sitting and collecting dust on the side of your desk. And this is ready today. We're actually going to take a look at this inside of the console, and I'm going to switch over. It'll take a couple moments here. And for those that have not been in the Veeam Data Cloud console in the last couple of weeks, you might notice that there are additional features here. And in the overview window, we have everything from the Microsoft 365 all the way down to the Vault. Each of these could pretty much be their own webinar on the feature sets, the reasons why, which is why we're going to kind of slide down into the Entra ID, what we've been talking about today. And if you notice, we can have multiple tenants and organizations within here. And one of my favorite features inside of this is what I like to call the coffee window. So I come into the day, I am sitting in front of my computer, I'm sipping my cup of coffee, making sure nothing is immediately on fire. That is why I come here. And that's where you can see that your protection is on. The types and numbers of objects have been backed up. Who's been doing any kind of restores? If you come in during the evening and say, hey, maybe this Veeam SE user should not have been doing a restore at this time during the day, or if it was over a weekend, you can immediately see that and start to remediate those types of actions. On top of that, we have the Veeam Intelligence, and we're going to ask the Veeam Intelligence here a question, and it's just going to be something a little simple. So I'm going to ask it, how do I change permissions? And this seems very vague, so we're going to see what it starts to understand from the window that we're inside of. And since we're inside of the Veeam Data Console, we're looking at the Entra ID side. It's assuming that we're wanting to add additional admins into the portal. Not only is it going to give us this information, but it's going to give us the sources where this information came from. But let's say I don't know how to speak English. Clearly, we've been speaking English this entire time, but let's see if it'll give us the same results in a language that maybe the documentation is not native in. And automatically, it takes the exact same information that it was going to give us up here and ports us down into a native language that we'll be able to understand. It still links to the documentation online, and the sources are always going to be listed at the bottom in addition to the sources in the native language, which I think is incredible. Language has become a huge barrier, or has been a huge barrier between different organizations and learning and things like this. And this is really just bridging that gap. So moving back on over to what else is there? We have the customer managed encryption keys. Now, why is this important? We think, okay, cool, we can give our own encryption, sure, whatever, it's more management and overhead on our side. But really what it means is control. You have control over your data and at rest that no one, even from our side, could ever read that data that is existing on that repository, which, if you weren't aware, helps with sovereignty laws. If your data is encrypted in a way that it is inaccessible to anyone that does not have that original key, which is your company, that data has a little bit more flexibility on where it's allowed to live in order to meet a lot of those compliance and regulations. So this gives you extra options down the line for what you can and cannot do for choices in your backup solution. Moving on is the encryption is managed through the same principles that you expect through your Azure environment, your Entra ID principles, and we take care of this on your onboarding process, meaning that when you first speak to someone, no data is being transferred until you have this in place. Now, Michael, I'm going to kick it on over to you to take us through what else is coming. Can there be any more?
Well, that's exactly what I would be thinking. We've already seen 3 game-changing enhancements here. So what else can Veeam possibly have left to announce, right? But we're always developing, enhancing, refining. So yeah, let's take a look at what else we'll bring to Veeam Data Cloud soon. We're going to start with Microsoft 365, and we're pleased to announce our next step in enhancing the powerful search capabilities our customers have come to depend on. So by enhancing our search and indexing engine, we'll be bringing newer and better ways to access your backup data, regardless of if you know where it resides in your backups or not. Now, initially expect to see improvements in scalability and enhancements to the metadata filtering, and watch this space because we're not done yet. Over on the reporting side, we're going to have additional reports. It's going to make it even easier than ever to audit any of the backup coverage and protection activity, which is an ever important requirement when we're ensuring the most critical business assets are covered. And we're going to move on over to Entra ID, and we're going to continue to enhance the breadth of data we're protecting with Entra ID. I'm really excited to announce that we'll be adding coverage for Intune to our Entra ID protection, starting with Intune device configuration and device compliance policies. Now, these next 2 features on the list here, we've already launched, which shows the Veeam speed we're working at. So firstly, we have enhancements to Entra ID RBAC with additional out-of-the-box roles and granularity. But secondly, we've added support for our Veeam Cloud and Service Provider, or VCSP, if you love an acronym, to offer Veeam Data Cloud powered Entra ID protection capabilities. This allows even more ways for our customers to consume Veeam powered services, whether directly or with the support of our mature and capable VCSP partners. Now, arguably, this was a major headline announcement in itself. At our VeeamON event earlier this year, our CTO, Niraj Toled, he took to the stage to announce many capabilities coming to Veeam products. And one announcement that truly stood out was Veeam's intent to adopt MCP. Now, what is MCP? MCP, or Model Context Protocol, if we want to use its full name, is a protocol just like USB or HTTPS, designed for AI agents to safely, seamlessly, and securely communicate with each other. This means that customers will be able to use their preferred MCP-capable AI agents to interact with VDC. Now, since this announcement we made earlier in the year, we've been working hard to deliver this, and I'm pleased to announce we're planning to launch our first iteration of MCP in the next couple of months. At launch, we'll be allowing support for the threat management service that Karim was just discussing earlier in his presentation. We're going to support both what we call so-called first-party integrations, which means Veeam Intelligence, again, something Karim was just telling us about. But additionally, we'll be supporting authorized third-party client integrations, meaning that you can build your own agent and pull in threat information from your M365 environment into your agent context. We are really excited to get this into the hands of our customers and our partners, and we can't wait to see the ways this and future MCP integrations will be built and used with VDC. So sadly, we're coming towards the close of our session now, but before we say goodbye, there are some key takeaways. So I'd like to take a moment to make sure, if this is your first time hearing about Veeam Data Cloud, that you can walk away with a full understanding of what Veeam Data Cloud is. Veeam Data Cloud is our unified cloud for data resilience. It's designed to support multiple workloads within a unified experience and interface. This is an all-inclusive SaaS platform, and it's built on industry-leading technologies. Now, this is not the end state for Veeam Data Cloud, and we look forward to continuing to add additional workloads in the future. So next, and cameras ready, folks, if you want to learn more, grab that link or QR code and take Veeam Data Cloud for a high-level tour at your own time and convenience. And additionally, get your camera ready again. If you're interested in having a conversation or a private demo with our sellers or system integrators, grab this link and QR code to request that session. And finally, from me, who doesn't love a good deal? So I want to highlight a promotion that we're running for our Q4, that Veeam Data Cloud Premium offering that we heard about early today. As a reminder, this is the flexibility of day-to-day recovery and industry-leading disaster recovery speeds and RPOs is at a special discount through the rest of the year. So there's never been a better time to start safeguarding your critical M365 data. And with that, we must now say farewell. So on behalf of myself, Corinne, Ryan, all of us at Veeam, thank you for your time both in this session and for joining our Veeam On Global Update. We hope you've learned something new and enjoy the rest of the event.